The Disciplines Essential in the Spiritual Aspirant, Part 9, Sri Muruganar, translated and presented by Robert Butler.
என்றென்றும் உயிர்க்கினிதாவிதயம் துன்றும் பெருமாண்புரு தன் சுரூபம் வென்று என்றும் மயக்கவினை கெடவே வென்றென்றும் மயக்கவினை கெடவே நின்று என்றும் ஒளிர்ந்திட நெஞ்சகமே என்றென்றும் உயிர்க்கினிதாயிதயம் தோன்றும் பெருமாண்புரு தன் சொரூபம் வென்றென்றும் மயக்கவினை கெடவே நின்றென்றும் ஒளிர்ந்திட நெஞ்சகமே ஒளிர்ந்திட நெஞ்சகமே.
Ever dearer to me than life itself, the august beauty of his selfhood fills my heart. Ever victorious, may it destroy in me the illusion of doership. Ever present, may it illumine the inner recesses of my soul.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana. So we'll get started today with Neṟi 25. I think Anand is, he said he'll be late today, so I will have Murugan read this. Is Murugan here? Oh, Anand is here. Okay, Anand, go ahead and read it, please. இறைவனை ஏமாற்றும் வஞ்சர் தம்மையே ஏமாற்றுவோராவர். தம்மை எவரும் ஏமாற்ற முடியாதெனின் இறைவனையும் ஏமாற்ற முடியாது. என்னை நெஞ்சை ஒளித்து ஒரு வஞ்சகமின்மையாலும் அந்நெஞ்சகக்கரியாகவே இறைவன் நிகழ்தலாலும் என்க. So which means, Robert, please.
Those wicked ones who would deceive the Lord deceive only themselves. If no one can deceive himself, then it follows that no one can deceive the Lord either. Why so? Because there is no evil deed which can conceal from our own heart, and equally because the Lord exists as the dweller in the heart.
So this Neṟi brings to mind Thiruvalluvar's Thirukkural. இணைப்பகை யுற்றாரும் உய்வர் வினைப்பகை வீயாது பின் சென்றடும், which means from every other enemy to escape there is a way, but the wrath of evil deeds will pursue and slay. You want to explain this, Robert?
Well, actually, in modern terms, what it means is that evil deeds is just basically acting based on the sense of the ego doership. All our deeds will have unfortunate consequences if we conduct them without reference to our own being ourselves. So really, in practical terms, it's just a call to maintain self-attention so the mind doesn't stray into the avenues of the ego. perhaps people would like to comment on that, that idea.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on this? Okay, so we will go to the next Neṟi, 26. Anant, you ready now?
Is he there?
Thought I saw him. Okay. Okay, let me go ahead and read it. So, இறைவன் அன்பால் அருளை எதிர்நோக்குவோர் அவர் வடிவான ஆறு உயிர்களிடம் அன்பு பூணல் வேண்டும். Robert?
Those who live in expectation of the Lord's grace must of necessity harbor love for the beloved creatures who share his form. Sound.
So, here in this Neṟi, Muruganar talks about the love for all creatures. And one of the best examples we can think of comes from Bhagavan's life itself. And this is a true event that happened, and Muruganar has it recorded in Guru Ashapove verse 815. It's actually a question that he asked, so he has now framed it as a verse. And to this, Bhagavan responded. We will see that next. So Muruganar asks, "O Venkata, when you touched what you thought to be only a widespread green leafy bush, many hornets stung that very leg, causing it to swell. How is it that you felt repentant for destroying their nest, as if you had deliberately done that wrong, which happened unintentionally?" So the story is that Bhagavan accidentally went into a thorny bush, a leafy bush, which had many hornets in it. So he didn't realize that. And then when the hornets started stinging his leg, he just stood there, because now he felt sorry for having disturbed it. But even though it was painful, he didn't want to move and disturb the hornets any further. He just stood there and let it sting him. And you know, there was pain and swelling in the leg, but he just didn't move. That's the amount of compassion and love he had. And so Bhagavan's response is actually captured in a verse. Robert, you want to read this, please?
Though the swarming hornets stung the leg so that it became inflamed and swollen when it touched and damaged their nest, which was spread and concealed in the midst of green leaves, and though the act of disrupting their nest, was a mistake that happened accidentally, if one did not at least feel sorry, pity for the hornets, and repentant for the trouble caused to them, what indeed would be the nature of his mind? That is, how thoroughly hard-hearted and insensitive would it be? So there we see the effect of being totally absorbed in the self, that you regard all creatures as part of yourself. So if you do some harm to them, then you make amends by, in this case, allowing the hornets to bite you, which is what will happen if we practice a Bhagavan's way.
Right.
Our own lives. We will generously atone for any harm that we cause in the same way that he did.
Yeah. I was really surprised when I first read it. I mean, this is an extreme display of compassion and love. So any thoughts or comments on this?
Yeah, I have a thought on it. As I heard the story before and I hear it again, what I'm working with for myself is a standard that one, I guess, judges by. So the hornets have a standard, and the Bhagavan or ourselves have a standard that may not match in some form of judgment. So his love and compassion is based on the standard of the hornets. And so his love for them and understanding them has some sort of balance to his standard of what he says for himself, which is outside of the body, which is outside of the physical attachment, pain, all of those things.
Well,
So
you just said it, Stephen, that he sees everything as himself. So he is in that
yeah,
situation, he is the hornets, and he applies their standard to himself.
yeah. And so that is what I get to look at, is where my ego makes us, my ego has a standard that's different than what I'm up for in my life. So there's a grooming that self-attention will help, like, somehow equalize that, you know, or I don't know, I'm not sure where I'm grasping at, but the point ends up being is self-attention has me keep the balance outside of my ego, setting a standard that's not valid for what I say.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes. Yeah, I was just reflecting on this hornet event, and I couldn't help it but think of, you know, the ant mounds that we get in our backyards, you know, throughout the year, especially next to our house, and the ants get into our house or try to get into our house, and we have to get rid of them. And that's an example of how many things we have to actually eliminate to be able to live more peacefully, I would say. And I'm sure throughout the structures of, I mean, you know, very close to the structures of the ashram, more likely that had to be done too. So how can we sort of manage that situation where we actually are in need to get rid of some plagues that are definitely unwanted in our lifetime? I mean, in our daily life. Something
That's okay, you know, but keep it down to the minimum. You know, keep any clearance that you need to do down to the minimum, the bare minimum that you need. And it is very important. So, I mean, the other day there was a lizard came into our house, and then I was just telling my son to move it away. And my main instruction was, no matter what you do, make sure it doesn't die. You know, just gently get him out. You know, but you know, like tap it behind or whatever, but just gently get him out. So don't no matter what you do, don't, make sure it doesn't die. And that is very important, because he's harmless basically.
Yeah,
You just don't like the look of it or whatever. And you know, we just don't. So just keep it down to the minimum, very minimum that you can.
yeah. So the idea is not being destructive just for the sake of it.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And these pictures are worth 1,000 words. It demonstrates the love of Bhagavan for all creatures. The rabbit, the squirrel now is playing in his hand. Right. Yeah. So Shanti is saying also the love that they had for Bhagavan, you know. So Bhagavan is giving something to monkey here. Okay, so now let's look at the third Neṟi for today, which is Neṟi 27. Murthy, you want to read this, please?
Namo Ramanaya.
Ramanaya.
27
Mhm.
கடவுள் அருள் உருவான மானிடம் பூண்டு பெரும்பாலும் வெளிவந்தும் அருவாகவே அறிவுக்கு அறிவாகச் சிறுபான்மை உள்ளிருந்தும் அதிகாரிகளுக்கு ஏற்ப தத்துவத்தை அறிவுறுத்துவார்.
Thank you. Robert?
Although God usually appears in a human form as the embodiment of grace, on occasion he will impart the true knowledge of reality dwelling within formlessly, as the consciousness of consciousness itself. This depends upon the degree of fitness of the aspirant.
This is a beautiful point. Although God usually appears in a human form as the embodiment of grace, on occasion he will impart the true knowledge of reality dwelling within formlessly as the consciousness of consciousness itself. This depends upon the degree of fitness of the aspirant. So, what this Neṟi basically states is that God will sometimes manifest to a spiritual aspirant in the form of physical guru, and sometimes through other means. But there is a need for guru, right, Robert?
Well, if we think carefully, the only person we know who received this kind of revelation from the self is Bhagavan himself. I don't know of anybody else that didn't at some point, at least early in their discipleship, have some form of outer guru, whether it be a living person, a person who passed, or even a book or something that
Triggered
an inspiration in them. Then it's only after years of practice in most cases that they come to be weaned away from the outward God, which is just really a projection of ego at the end of the day, and they turn back towards the self. But we all need something. It's like those little children when they're trying to walk, they have a little bouncer so that they can, they've got something to hold on to till their legs can gain enough strength to walk and maintain balance. We need something to hold on to, basically. I certainly did. I remember early days, it would have been Jesus, the Buddha, some of the old Zen masters, Tibetan masters, some of the Indian masters, and eventually Bhagavan. And then Bhagavan turns it all around back into yourself, and that's the end of the trip, really.
Right.
Once you reach the end of these physical outward manifestations and see them for what they are, which is just projection of the ego.
Right. Thank you. So, I think you brought to my attention a quote from Conscious Immortality. Could you go ahead and read that?
Yes. It's a nice quote.
Yeah.
You imagine the guru to be what you are yourself. Because you are with the body, you imagine him to do something tangible to you, but his work lies within. The devotee thinks that the guru is a man and expects a relationship as between bodies, but the guru, who is self-incarnate, works from within. The guru creates conditions to drive you inward and prepares the interior to drag you to the center. Thus he gives you a push and exerts a pull from within, so that you may be fixed at the center. The key thing here is the pull. We can't merge with the self consciously. We have to put ourselves in a state of readiness to be, as it were, swallowed up, as Bhagavan says, as a prey to the self. Unada.
Right. There was there are some really good comments that Swami Sadhava made, and he really stresses the point. There is a need for guru, but he also stresses this point. However, a guru need not be in his physical body. This is very important for us Bhagavan devotees. because we are here in 2021, and our guru is not in his physical body, and that it's perfectly fine, and it is stressed by Sadhu Om. Let's look at his comments here. Which was he made this comment on 28th of December 1977, and it was recorded by Michael James. You want to read this, please, Robert?
Bhagavan always said that the self alone is guru, and that his body is unnecessary. People say to me, it's all right for you to say a living guru is unnecessary, but you had a living guru. To them, I say that what I learned from my living guru is a living guru is unnecessary. And everyone else can learn the same if they study Bhagavan's works and do a little manana, reflection, on their import. Unless you understand that self is guru, even a living guru cannot help you.
Right. So unless we understand that our own self is the guru, even a living guru cannot help you. So this is important. And he goes on to say, go ahead.
The purpose of the outer guru is to make us understand the need for self-attention and to enkindle love for it in our heart. A living person is, of course, not needed for that. Bhagavan's books serve the same purpose, and he provides us with fellow devotees and other outer aids as and when necessary. The environmental circumstances in which we live are provided by the guru, who knows what the most suitable environment is for maturing us.
Yeah.
In other words, if we're open to our circumstances, our very situation in life will bring us the guru in the form of whatever knowledge we need to know by the experience we encounter in everyday life, including, like in this satsang, that people are here because that's what the guru has arranged for them.
Exactly. That's arranged for us. Yeah, and we are blessed here to have people like Michael and Robert, who spent years studying Bhagavan's works, and to be able to share their thoughts and insights, and the explanations and so forth. So if you really deeply analyze it, the depth that we get is a lot more than what we could imagine. I mean, and it's all Bhagavan's grace. It is all Bhagavan providing us, and he thinks this is what we need, and which should be good for us. That's a key point. Any comments on this or questions?
Yeah, about the need for a guru. When I started to teach in a university setup, I came across a nice sentence which said that a true teacher is one who makes himself or herself unnecessary to the student.
Nice.
Because you should make them. In fact, this has now been put in practice. I did it in a course in Singapore, where the students are, after the introduction to what a guru or a teacher should be, the students then stand up and take up a topic and teach us back. So it is possible. That's one point. The other thing is, in each of our cases, we ourselves know that when we were wandering around pursuing so many other things, Bhagavan attracted us from within in one's own individual way, to Thiruvannamalai and to this satsangam, for example. So we don't have to go too far away to prove that this is what happens. When we are mature, in whichever form this guru has to appear, he does.
Right. So the environment or circumstances are provided by the guru, who knows what the most suitable environment is for maturing us. Thank you.